Hey guys, I'm Cole.
And I'm Cody, and behind us is our brand new 2019 Ram 2500 Cummins. It's going to be our new shop truck. We're really excited to show you guys all sorts of things on these new trucks. We're going to be doing a whole series on performance suspension and aftermarket upgrades for these trucks. But today we want to do a video that kind of highlighted the differences between the 2019 and then the previous 2018 trucks. Now, while it does look a little bit different and even the underneath might look a little bit the same, there's actually some pretty distinct differences with this platform. So we want to delve into those and kind of just give a quick highlight video of what the differences are.
Okay, so some may say the only changes on these trucks are to the front end, when indeed there are actually quite a few changes on these new trucks. Starting with the new front end, these trucks feature an aluminum hood, 3 different headlight options. In fact, the Laramie and higher end options have full LED headlights, something new to the Ram platform. These trucks have 20 proximity sensors, which may present a challenge. The old trucks only had 8, so it made it a lot easier to install aftermarket bumpers, lights, things like that. So everyone's have to get really creative with aftermarket accessories on these trucks. While the cab remains relatively unchanged, front and rear, there are quite a few differences on these trucks.
And even so much, the cabs are so much the same that if you're installing AMP research steps, the part number for the 2018 trucks actually still fits the 2019. So that gives you an idea of how actually similar the cab itself is on the exterior to the older years. That pretty much sums it up, the fact that the steps straight on bolt on. On the interior on this truck, it's actually completely different, and I'm sure that's what a lot of guys have been excited to see. It now has the Tesla style screen. It's a giant screen that controls your stereo, maps, climate control, a bunch of other stuff on the truck. You can actually run 2 different apps, so to speak, at once. You can do the weather, or not the weather, the maps, along with your climate control, things like that. The overhead console is 100% different. The door panels are probably the closest thing to the old trucks. The overall design of the door panels is pretty similar, but the inlays are completely different. This truck, being the Laramie, has actually like a suede insert now on the door instead of the fall wood that was on the previous years. So beyond that, they also have the center console, which is completely different. It has a wireless charger built in. It has an insane amount of storage. I think Dodge has something like 20 different storage combinations that can occur in the center console. You can hide stuff, do whatever you want there. Again, it's got wireless charging. They also have the upfitters on this truck, so now instead of having to get a bunch of switches or a Switch Pro or a S-Pod or something like that on your truck, you can just hit the factory upfitters. So that's pretty cool for accessories, but like we said, it will be interesting fitting different accessories, especially on the front bumpers of these trucks, just due to the design. But we're hoping to have some cool stuff there.
So powertrain wise, these trucks now come standard with the 6.4 Hemi. 5.7 is now discontinued. As far as the diesels go, while it's still considered a 6.7 diesel, that's about where the similarities end. The entire engine has seen a considerable refresh with new block design, new turbo, new valves, pistons. Basically everything on the engine has been refreshed. These newer versions operate a lot more quietly, both inside and outside the cab. It's funny, actually, when we first walked up to the truck and was running, it actually doesn't sound at all like the older Cummins trucks where you hear that clankety sound. It's actually a whole lot quieter, which is interesting. And actually, surprisingly, it's nice on long drives on the highway as well. Everyone's been talking about the 1,000 foot-pounds torque these new trucks have. There is a catch to this. It is only available on the 3,500 trucks equipped with the ACEN transmission. The 68 RFE equipped trucks have 370 horsepower and 850 foot-pounds of torque, while the new 1,000 foot-pound 3,500 equipped trucks have 400 horsepower. Transmission-wise, the manual transmission has now been discontinued. A lot of this has to do with the fact that these trucks all have a built-in automatic braking system for collision avoidance. The 68 RFE transmission's been considerably refreshed, while the ACEN transmission, although it's received minor software tweaks, is essentially unchanged from the previous model years. The frame itself has received quite a few tweaks in an attempt to reduce vibration transmitted throughout the cab, and that's done with the addition of new bushings, additional cross members, extra weights placed strategically throughout the frame to basically help dampen highway vibrations. I guess it's a harmonics kind of thing. This is done in an attempt to basically help refine how these trucks feel from inside the cab.
All right, now the suspension was something that we're the most curious about of all the changes on these trucks. Now, at a glance, it looks like it's basically the same. One of the things that we've noticed is the biggest change is going to be the front track bar bracket. Now, there's a ton of recalls and a ton of issues with cracking and things like that on the previous years with the welded-on track bar bracket. So they went with a bolt-on track bar bracket similar to the Ford trucks. One thing that has caused is all of the previous track bars, suspension kits are going to be kind of held up as there's a redesign for the track bar to clear the new bracket. The bracket is now bigger and causes some collision issues with the track bars. Short of that, the radius arms now have a bunch of holes cut in them. We assume it's mainly for water drainage and just so they'll dry out and not rust like what was happening on the previous years. We still have the leaf springs on the 3500 trucks, the 5-link coil rear end on the 2500 trucks like this. So again, Chrysler has claimed there's a bunch of small changes in composition, bushings, things like that. That's kind of stuff that we can't see. Again, visually the suspension looks basically the same. Another thing to note, the sway bars on the front of these trucks, the mounting dimensions for the sway bars a little bit wider, so there will be a redesign, for instance, on the Carly torsion sway bar. We know that for sure at this point. But yeah, overall, you could definitely take a older suspension or 2014 and up suspension and basically bolt it on one of these trucks with some slight tweaks. This week, actually, this truck will be going to Carly Suspension to test fit and make sure the ride, fitment and everything like that is good all across the board on their kits, so we'll be sure to make another video about that. And yeah, overall, I think these trucks are just a more refined or an improved version of the 14 to 18 trucks. Again, like he said, the noise canceling on these trucks is amazing. That's one thing. The Ford trucks have always been a little bit quieter, especially the new ones. However, this truck is, they've definitely stepped up the game with noise cancellation, both inside and outside. The trucks are much quieter, much smoother, so that's something that's pretty cool, as we did have a lot of customers always ask, hey, is this clunky noise normal, you know, when I'm driving my truck? And we'd always just show them another truck that we've got here making the same noises. It was pretty common on those. The braking system as well, the braking system has been upgraded, most likely to the fact that they do have the collision avoidance, so it's a lot more of automation, so to speak, on the braking system. But hopefully, you know, these upgraded brakes will help with 37s and bigger tires and even off-road performance.
It should also be said that the steering on these trucks does feel tighter than it did on the 2014 and 2018 trucks. Looking at the steering visibly, the drag link is a little bit heavier duty. Slightly different design, doesn't have the dual jam nuts on it. It's a single jam nut on the new steering design. This truck actually steers extremely tight. We're not sure if it's due to different springs inside the steering column or how they achieve that, but this truck does feel, in terms of tightness, more similar to the Fords, although without the steering wheel feedback that a lot of the Ford trucks exhibit. All right, well, we haven't had this truck long. We do know that it feels a whole heck of a lot faster off the line. This may be due to the fact that it has 373 gears, while the old trucks have 342 gears. Shifting feels a lot more natural on the 68 on this truck than it did on the 2014 and 2018 trucks. So we've definitely seen an improvement there. In terms of wheel and tire fitment, it's very, very similar to the 2014 and 2018 trucks. We've already had a customer truck in here that we fit 37s on. The trimming on that truck was identical to how it was on the 2014 and 2018 trucks. As far as wheel specs, still 8 on 6.5, still uses 14 millimeter lug nuts. 17-inch wheels will still fit as long as you get creative with how the wheel weights are placed on the inside of the wheels. They have to go on the very inside, right behind the spokes. Otherwise, you recommend running 18s or larger. So yeah, in terms of wheel and tire fitment, that sort of thing, very similar to the previous models, just with the other minor improvements throughout.
And I think that goes back to just how similar the cabs are. Again, the cab is basically the same with a different interior. So for a lot of questions we get with just how different it is definitely going to be pretty similar, aside from like the whole front clip bumpers and things like that. But again, keep in mind the 37s will be able to fit on these trucks with a simple leveling kit. 3-inch kits will clear them quite well, so we'll be sure to make more videos in the future about that. And yeah, we're super stoked to just be able to modify this truck. Again, we just got it, so we'll be measuring and taking some scans and things like that to see what kind of aftermarket parts we can come up for. Those of you who've been following us for a while, please comment down below on what products you'd like to see. Again, we're going to go for our usual lights and different off-road accessories that kind of make your off-roading a little bit easier, and hopefully we'll come up with some cool parts. But again, please comment down below. If you do have one of these trucks, also comment down below and let us know how you like it and things you'd like to see in the future from us. But thanks for watching. If you have any questions, again, comment, email, or call, and be sure to subscribe because we'll be posting a lot more videos with this truck.